Hello and welcome to this Monday edition of the North Shore Drive podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter, here with my friend and partner on the Steelers beat. That's Ray Fittipaldo. We are Steelers beat writers here at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. And as always, you can find this show on your favorite podcasting apps and on YouTube. Like this video if you enjoyed. Subscribe to this YouTube channel to get all of the daily content that comes out from all of our sports writers here at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. A reminder, this show is presented by FanDuel, where you can get all the odds, ends, and lines all week. We'll give you the updated AFC North divisional odds later, but make sure to place your first bet on FanDuel whenever you're placing your bets on any sporting events. But this show is also brought to you by our sponsors at Edgar, Snyder & Associates, who also do workers' compensation. When you've been hurt on the job, you need to know who decides when you're better, who decides when your treatment's over, and who decides when your benefits are over. The answer might surprise you. It's the insurance company's doctors. They won't be on your side. Get someone who will be on your side. That's Edgar, Snyder & Associates. Call them at 1-800-94-EDGAR because they'll fight for the right to workers' compensation rights that you deserve. Remember, there's never a fee unless they get money for you. Ray, let's talk about this Steelers team. And we can get into the minutia of the blown coverages, of the just straight up getting beat on the pass or misplaying jump balls and things like that. But I thought, and we'll play this clip here in a bit, but I thought Cam Heyward kind of hit it on the nose when he talked about how the team did not respond well to adversity and how everything just fell apart after that. And of course, the adversity being some of the questionable calls in the second half, but bad calls are going to happen. It seemed like after that, all the focus, all the things that gave them a 16-7 lead going into halftime just wilted away.
Yeah, I think Heyward's point was, you can have calls go against you, but you have to be able to respond in those situations. You have to be able to overcome some adversity when it comes your way. How often do we hear Mike Tomlin talk about that? But to hear Heyward question the team's fight, question the team's buy-in, this was only, 30 minutes after the game. I think it's really telling about where this team is right now. I mean, we're going to talk later about all the defensive stats and where they rank in the league. And believe me, Chris, it's really bad. I mean, we're going to get some Steelers fans depressed on this Monday morning, but when the team captain stands up in that room and talks the way Heyward did yesterday, it really suggests there's a lot of other issues going on within that football team, and it's kind of hard to understand. I mean, you got a lot of the same key players back, TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, Cam Heyward, Keanu's in his third year now at nose tackle. You got some new vets you bring in who you think are going to make a seamless transition and just step in. So I don't know who Cam was talking about. I don't know who needed to hear that, but to me it was surprising to listen to the team captain talk in the manner that he did on Sunday night, or I guess as it was early Monday morning.
Well, you all can be surprised because we're going to play that clip of Cam Heyward and some of the questions he answered when we talked to him. Here's Steelers defensive captain Cam Heyward talking after the 35-25 loss to the Packers.
Cam, you guys talked about stopping the run going into this game, and you guys looked like you guys largely did stop the run, but still gave up a lot of points, a lot of yards. What do you guys have to do better to be better against the pass right now?
You got to handle adversity a lot better, man. I think this game kind of eroded in the second half, and big plays were, the death of us today. You're not going to be perfect out there, but you got to keep fighting. I just think there's a lot of ball and, not enough fight on our side.
Do you think the fight problem is happening because of the big plays and you guys don't rebound well enough?
Yeah, I don't think we handle adversity. That second half, it just kind of split open. If you get hit hard enough, you got to have answers for it. Part of being a professional is fixing your mistakes fast and answering those problems. I think this is a lesson we all can learn from. But hopefully it hits home fast.
Was it surprising considering the way your defense had played in the first half?
Yeah. I thought we did an amazing job in the first half stopping the run. You know, I wasn't happy with that last drive before the half. You know, it got the ball moving a little bit. They had a field flipper. I know they missed the kick, but you could just feel like they moved the ball with a little bit more success. And then in the second half, you know, I think the offense came off pretty quick. We can't let, you know, penalties or stuff that goes against you affect your heart in the game. It's got to be, you know, when you have a love affair with this game, it's got to always be a buy-in. It's always got to be, you know, how can I affect the next play? You know, you got to let what happened before go. That's just how this game works. If you continue to feel sorry for yourself, it's going to, you know, avalanche. And this was a clear case of that.
But so basically, right there, Ray, I think Cam Heyward being pretty honest, and I think this is the stuff that you need leaders to do, but kind of calling out like, hey, like, you know, when stuff hit the fan, it went, you know, everything went sideways, and yeah, to be a good team, you have to bounce back better than that. And you know, I think you saw like once the Packers started landing shots, the Steelers got punch drunk. And that's not what you can do if you're good defenses are going to give up a big play here and there. But what makes you a good defense is how do you respond to that? Can you get back to what you're doing? Can you read the keys of your opponent and kind of take away what they're trying to do? I think that was the thing that you just didn't see enough of in this game, especially in that second half.
Yeah, like you said, being able to fix your mistakes fast. They didn't do that. And we heard Juan Thornhill talk after the game about we're still talking about miscommunication issues. And I think that's what Cam was probably alluding to there. You know, when you don't get lined up right, you're going to have a really hard time executing the defense that is called as well. But, you know, to me, Chris, when I look back at that game, some really undisciplined penalties too really hurt the Steelers.
Yeah.
And Cam was talking about, I'll bring up two of them. One was the Nick Herbig personal foul where he pushed a player off the pile. I believe it was early fourth quarter.
Yes.
Still a 3-point game at that point.
Gave him a short field.
They start in Steelers territory, score a touchdown, then it's 29-19. And you could just sort of feel, okay, now the Packers really have the momentum. And then an even worse penalty, in my mind, because he stuck his fingers like in the eyes and then pulled the face mask of the Packers defender was DK Metcalf. And he had that reputation. He did that kind of stuff in Seattle. We hadn't seen it here yet, but we saw that on Sunday night. Now, the game was away from the Steelers at that point, but listen, it's a 3rd and 2. You're down by 10. The game's not over at that point. I mean, you have to be able to keep your composure and to, not do stupid stuff like that. So I don't want to say it was uncharacteristic. I just thought really some bad penalties there by Herbig and Metcalf, and obviously they played a big role in the outcome of that football game.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing here is that you got to limit those types of mistakes if you're trying to play mistake-free football too. Like, you know, those type of decisions impact things, right? So, it may not be the X's and O's, but that's the stuff that can, again, get like that drive where DK Metcalf did that. They had 3rd and 2, and they were running the ball, and I look at that and I think, man, like what a missed opportunity the Steelers had there. Because even if they do score that touchdown, if they get a touchdown on the next drive, then it can also be a 3-point game. So
yeah,
I look at this and I agree with Cam Heyward. This team needs a bit of a wake up call when it comes to its discipline, when it comes to how it operates. And I think that wake up call is across the board, because Mike Tomlin even acknowledged after the game that like they need to be better at putting people where they're going to succeed. And when he said it that way, Ray, and we've talked about, and we'll get to the second segment, but we've talked to him a few times. We've talked to him all year, really. And I don't think he's ever really acknowledged, we need to, move things around in the secondary to make things work. I think he's just shown up and did it. But now, like, or he said the run defense is the real problem. But now it's kind of forcing his hand.
Yeah, we're gonna see what they do in replacing DeShon Elliott. That's going to be a huge loss for that football team. Kind of
Yeah.
got lost in the wash last night, but looks like Darius Slay got benched. Now, he said afterward that he's got a little bit of a calf issue, but he was good enough to play, and they were using Brandon Echols late in that football game. So is that one of the personnel changes that the Steelers look to? We'll see, but I don't know about you, Chris, but it just seems like trying to put the fingers in the dam here. There's a lot of issues, and I don't know if they have enough fingers to plug all the holes.
We'll get back to those issues next here on the North Shore Drive podcast from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Chris Carter and Fittipaldo. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. But first, before we do that, I want to remind you this show is also brought to you by Olivian Numismatic Rarities. If you got old gold or jewelry that's collecting dust, turn it into instant cash, and you can safely and securely at Olivian Numismatic Rarities right here in Pittsburgh, Shadyside neighborhood. Gold prices are at historic highs. And if you stop by ONR today, they will pay top dollar for your unwanted gold, silver, and coins. So stop by the premier gallery at 5833 Ellsworth Avenue in Shadyside, or learn more at onrcoins.com. That's the Shadyside Gallery at 5833 Ellsworth Avenue, or visit onrcoins.com, onrcoins.com, or call 412-900-COIN today. We're also brought to you by Goldberg, Persky, and White. If you were diagnosed with mesothelioma or lung cancer, call your local attorneys at Goldberg, Persky, and White. For over 40 years, their firm has represented thousands of lung cancer and mesothelioma victims. Call 1-800-COMPLEX or visit gpwlaw.com for a free consultation. And we will, of course, thank them all for being sponsors of the North Shore Drive podcast. We'll be right back after this. We're back here in the North Shore Drive podcast from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Ray, let's talk about the defense a little bit more, because again, this is the focus right now. They got beat pretty badly. I don't know what's fixable about this defense right now, because it was built on the idea that this secondary, especially these cornerbacks, were going to be able to erase people. And not only they erase people, they're drawing people open because and they're not making tackles. Darius Slay, I thought it was a pathetic effort on his part on that wide receiver screen that Savion Williams scored on. I get that the initial blocks were there, but when he had a one-on-one chance on the sideline, he just whiffed. And I think that there's been a lot of whiffing for the Steelers of late, and I think that that's another problem that they're having, is that they weren't tackling as well. They looked out of position, and Mike Tomlin again even acknowledged that after the game. Do you think this leads to any attempts at changes with this roster right now, or with this organization to try to fix this defense right now?
Yeah, I mean, listen, we just talked about it late in that last segment. You could play Echols over Darius Slay. Mike Tomlin last Tuesday said Corey Trice is close to coming back to practice. Maybe Corey Trice, would get a chance maybe in a couple weeks once he gets activated from the 53. Beyond that, Chris, I don't know what you do unless you go out and make a move. Does Omar Khan feel compelled to go out there and try to get a replacement for DeShon Elliott? I mean, you listen to the players talk in the locker room, how much he's meant to that defense. You listen to Teryl Austin every Thursday when Elliott's name comes up, and just the praise he has for him, and all the things he does for that defense. So it's going to be a tough one to overcome. I mean, they signed Chuck Clark in the middle of training camp. I think it's fair to say he's been below average.
Yeah.
They signed Jabril Peppers, a week or two into the season. They don't really feel like they can play him all that much. I mean, if he's not better than Chuck Clark, then I don't know what to say about that. But if you don't go out and make a move, then there's your two solutions right there. And neither one, to me, seems like it's all that. I'm not enthusiastic about either of those options, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, I feel you on that. I look at what they're trying to do, and I think that there's options to try to fix the way that they're trying to play, especially on defense. But I don't know if this team has that juice to turn on. And I think it's unfortunate for the Steelers, because when they were 4-1 just a couple weeks ago, everyone was feeling like mighty high about them. But I think Cam Heyward brought this up, and I feel like people said, "Hey, you can't let the highs be too high and the lows be too low." And I think that's where the Steelers team has to kind of bear down in right now. Is that like, look, you certainly blew that opportunity, but you're still in first place. If you can get back on track and win some more games, you can be in a position where you are feeling a lot better about this. And this is just a lesson you've learned. But to your point, Ray, I don't know if this team has that in them right now.
No, Chris, if you look at the numbers, I mean, they're giving up 386 yards per game. And I don't know, it was maybe 2 weeks ago we were, interviewing Teryl Austin as we do every week on Thursdays. And he was like, well, you know what? I look at different metrics besides yards allowed. It's, do you create turnovers and are you good in the red zone? Well, what's happened in these last 3 games? They're not getting turnovers and they haven't been really good in the red zone either. So when you're hanging your hat on those 2 things and you continue just to hemorrhage yardage the way they have, it's going to come back to haunt you. I mean, you give up 28 points in the second half to, it's a good Packers team. I'm not going to deny you that, but we kind of saw what the Steelers could be in the first half of that football game. So, they're kind of, Jekyll and Hyde right now. They're all over the place. And, we should mention, Chris, everyone was making fun of the Ravens, right? A couple weeks ago. How bad is their defense? Their defense is horrible. It's historically bad. Well, you know what? After that game against the Bears yesterday, where the Ravens actually played halfway decent on defense, they are now better than the Steelers in terms of yards allowed given up on the season. So there's your picture of the Steelers defense right now, 7 games into the season.
It's a pretty rough picture to have right now. If you're the Steelers, you're trying to find every which way to win. Right now, I'm glad you brought up the Ravens because I want to give the new odds and the odds from FanDuel on the on the AFC North right now. For those who hadn't been keeping watch, the Steelers had moved into being the favorites not too long ago. But after that loss, they're now back to being the second team with the best odds to win the division. FanDuel has the Ravens right now as the favorites at -105 to win the division. The Steelers having the second best odds at +125. The Bengals are at +500, and the Browns, well, they're at +3,000. No one's really thinking of them anyways. But Ray,
and they have the best defense. How funny is that?
Crazy, which is so crazy. Myles Garrett got 5 sacks, and it did not matter when they played the Patriots. But to your point, I look at the Steelers defense and I still see an opportunity for these guys to put it together, Ray. But the problem is I think they need to scrap a whole lot of things they're trying to do. You remember when I asked Teryl Austin about disguises and the importance of, when do you balance not disguising as much so that your guys can do the basics? Yeah. I think this team might need a period like that where they can just kind of go back through the bases and do a lot of the things that are more in depth with what they're trying to build on defense, like respond better to motion. You make sure that, hey, when we're disguising this, when we drop into this zone, we're squeezing this receiver, because too often what's happening is guys just dropping back into a zone and they're not playing their zone with the thought of who else is coming your way or what pass to expect. They're just playing their zone, and that's what leads to open wide receivers, and you can't let that happen too consistently.
Yeah, the talk over the summer was Steelers have personnel now to play man-to-man, and they're not going to have to trick teams anymore. They're not going to have to do those disguises to win football games. But now you're at the point, okay, we kind of see, Chris, okay, even though Tucker Kraft pushed off Elliott, that was a big 59-yard play in that football game, okay?
It was.
Single coverage. Nobody else was in sight. Thornhill tried to hang on to him. He got dragged for 20 yards. 59-yard game, biggest play in my mind of that football game in terms of changing the momentum. Another play down the field, I think this one was to Watson. I think I don't know if it was Chuck Clark who was in coverage. Maybe it was a corner.
I think it was Eccles on the.
It was Eccles. Yes, it was Eccles. One Thornhill kind of jumps up, but he was short, and Watson just reels it in. Again, man coverage in that situation, and another big play that put the Packers in good position. Maybe it's not a bad idea just to zone it up and to try to make people methodically march the ball down the field. Because, listen, other teams make mistakes too, but it's a lot easier on those teams to hit big plays like 59-yarders and 30 and 40-yarders down the field when you're singled up in coverage and you're not making those plays and you're not tackling the catch.
Exactly.
I hate to put this on Thornhill, but if Thornhill just dies for Tucker Kraft's legs there, he's down at the Packers 40-yard line, and DeShon Elliott doesn't even get hurt.
Yep.
Instead he tried to tackle him up high. He got stiff-armed. He got dragged halfway down the football field. So, that's kind of where I am now. I like the whole thing about we're going to man teams up and we're going to do this. I mean, Chris, that's over. You got to go to plan B, and you got to try to devise something here for the second half of the season to save your season.
I agree. I think some things need to change, whether it's Teryl Austin as the play caller, whether it's Mike Tomlin's philosophy, whether it's the penalties that we've probably seen take over. I think the bottom line is they got to figure this out soon if the Steelers want to, I think keep moving forward and be able to make the playoffs again this year and maybe even win a division. But still lots of angles to cover on this game. We will be in the Steelers locker room today, Monday, talking to players, getting a better sense of how they've seen things since we last talked to them last night. And then, of course, Mike Tomlin talks Tuesday. We'll be back at it again. But stay tuned for all the updates here on the North Shore Drive podcast from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. He's Ray Fittipaldo. I'm Chris Carr. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you here next time on the North Shore Drive podcast. Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.